into that buffer by, say, 20 feet to support the construction of the pickleball courts. So my question, does that articulate it correctly?
Yeah, just in those two corners.
So you can see the
That's
map
what's shown on
here.
the plan, which is yellow. Rick Sharp, my place,
Yep.
see.
Perfect. So do we need a motion?
Yeah, and I actually prepared one, just because I talked to
Okay.
the building inspector and he had certain things he wanted me to say. Does
No,
anybody
you
have any?
said 20 feet and the map says 15.
We're gonna be in that ballpark. I mean, it depends what the grade comes out to, but somewhere
Okay,
in
well,
that. I just need enough room. Well, we can put the fence post right there, but then if there's a tree
no, I
right
don't
next to
have
it, the
a
tree falls.
problem
over.
with that.
So I'm just trying to give ourselves enough room.
Yep.
So that
Okay.
they can mow around it.
And they won't be anywhere near the actual
Is
wetland.
that area pretty flat? You don't have to bring in a
I
lot of
don't know
fill?
that answer, that's
Yeah, I'm
that's
not
why I
sure
don't
that
know.
it
Till we
is.
get out there and shoot the grades,
Yeah.
it's hard to say if there's a cut or a fill,
Yeah.
or whatever. We gotta balance it, so.
Yeah, I was
that-
over there looking at it the
So
other day. I was interested
according
how
to
they
the
do it.
topo that we have, and I've walked out there, it's pretty flat.
Yeah, it's only what,
If
3
you have a
feet?
1 or 2
Yeah.
foot cut,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
can
yeah.
make it work.
So I talked to the building inspector, and I actually ran by a motion in regards to this, and I'll just state the motion. If we get a second, then we can have some further discussion and see how the board feels. So I'm gonna make a motion that the Conservation Commission send a letter to the building inspector stating that the Conservation Commission does not have any objections with encroaching the 50-foot wetlands buffer to support construction activities related to the new Litchfield, Town of Litchfield pickleball courts at Sawmill Brook, with the following 2 conditions. Condition number 1, encroachment into the 50-foot wetland buffer does not exceed 20 feet. And condition number 2, work to be done within the wetland buffer is coordinated with the Town of Litchfield building inspector. That's my motion.
I'll
Second
second
that.
it.
Okay, we got a motion by me, seconded by Harry. So does anybody have any comments, any questions, any discussion, any concerns at all? Go down the list. Matt?
No.
Harry?
No,
Diane?
Nope.
Fred?
No.
Michael?
I'm good.
Okay. All right, so I will call it to vote. All those in favor say aye.
aye.
All those opposed, all those abstain, motion carries 600. I will draft a letter to the building inspector stating exactly what I just stated here, and we should be good to go. Does that?
We're gonna start clearing tomorrow.
He'll do it tonight.
Yeah.
Okay.
He'll get it to him tonight.
Thank you.
We're good?
And he's probably already got it ready to go.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you for preparing for this, by the way. This is great artwork.
You talking about the yellow patch?
Yeah. All right,
Okay,
next,
so-
next item on the agenda, I think we're gonna open it up for public input. So public input on non-agenda items. Anybody here to speak in public for non-agenda items? Wink, wink, the library.
Okay. Yes, hi.
Why don't you come on up here,
Sure.
Dave?
Thank you.
So I'm Ben Stinson. I'm the Adult and Teen Services Librarian at Aaron Cutler Library. And I believe I emailed with a couple of members of the board, possibly the general link. It's been a minute. We're seeking a partner for a program related to the book The Bear. New Hampshire Humanities is pursuing a, what is this, National Endowment for the Arts grant to do a big read for many of the libraries in the state of the novel The Bear, which is set in New Hampshire. It's sort of a survival story in a future with humanity having basically all but gone extinct, and like the last couple of humans are sort of living I don't know how you describe it. Anyway, surviving off of the land, etc. So as we're trying to participate in that, our requirements are we're supposed to host a book discussion and one other program for the community in partnership with another community organization. I thought given the themes of nature and such, the Conservation Commission would be an interesting partner to have. So I was hoping to present that as a possibility going forward. Ask if you had any suggestions for speakers or something of that nature, if anything leapt to mind.
We had the bear guy here from Field and Game. right?
Yep, Fish and Game.
Fish and Game, yeah. I thought that might be.
So something that would be
would be-
potentially interesting. I had mentioned to Diane on the phone that we had looked at a group that brings owls or other birds of prey to do sort of talks about them. That's not quite as directly related as the bear talk, but I think we'd ended up not doing it because it was a little on the expensive side. But might be of interest because we did have some folks who'd expressed interest in that program, having seen it somewhere else. So yeah, the only like caveat with that is we need to ideally give them a general sense of what we're doing for next week at some point, which I know is a tight turnaround. I only found out about this in the middle of December. So, but if we could get, like, I'm sure we could alter the plan from what we originally said to them. I don't believe they're paying for the program. They're just sort of, they're acquiring enough grant money to give everybody books and some like advertising support and that sort of thing, is I believe the plan. We also won't know for sure if they get the grant until April.
Did we pay for the Fish and Game guy?
No, it's not.
Are you aware that Fish and Game has a thing called Operation Land Share?
No, I have not.
What is that?
I happened to be up in Concord for a separate meeting, and I saw this, and I unfortunately only grabbed one brochure, but it looks like something that we would be interested in too. I can probably get some more, but there's that.
What does it do, Barry?
Um,
Why is it pertinent to this
Well, I
conversation?
think what it does is, it's a program that interfaces with landowners and, all the problems, or all the situations that happen with the land and all that sort of stuff. And then I happened to run across, there's a wildlife program for adults that probably would fall within something that you're looking for. And again, I only grabbed one brochure. And then, how about,
That's who we had, that's who
Pardon?
came,
yeah,
avoiding bear conflicts.
yeah, and then avoiding black bear conflicts, again, would be something that you folks are probably interested in.
So I'm not 100%, I don't 100% understand. So what,
I'm sorry, yeah.
yeah, so what are you looking for from the Conservation Commission?
So.
How can we help?
Yes, it's fair. So our mandate, I guess, for this was to host to partner with at least one local organization in order to host these events, at least one of them. A book discussion, which we'll basically, do as our usual thing, and a community event, very sort of broadly defined. Basically, like, I was I was wondering if you would be interested in the partnership, if you were able to bring any resources to that or not, if not, or like advertising perhaps to just like send it out on your,
So we could definitely do that.
Mm-hmm.
But is the topic around this bear book? So like what type of what type of
sure.
experts are you looking for to come
right.
present to you?
Well, I can give the,
Diane's an expert on dogs. You have a dog book.
let me give you the examples that they have for theirs. So in addition to having a discussion with the author, New Hampshire Humanities is hosting an event at the McAuliffe Shepherd Discovery Center on the mapping of Ursa Major and Ursa Minor in the night sky and how different societies have used the night sky for navigation, and is running a program of virtual presentations focusing on the role of post-apocalyptic literature in revealing the anxieties of society, as well as the history of navigation.
Because they had to use this guy to navigate in the book, most likely?
I believe that's, yeah, I think that's right.
Okay.
It's sort of, you know, that kind of,
So
survival
really what you're looking
skill.
for is a liaison on this.
Yeah, I think that would be, that would work if we could get to the point of, yeah, like I said, unfortunately are in the position of needing to have at least an idea for like next week or end of, middle of end of next week. But so a liaison would work if we could talk something over and then hammer out the details.
Did you like the idea of having the fishing game guy who did a
Um,
bear
I
presentation?
think that could
It was pretty
certainly
well
work.
attended here.
Yeah, I think that could certainly work. I think probably our,
Because we want to help, I would love to have a liaison
Yeah.
relationship with the library by our board, because it would be something that we could do hand in hand for
Sure.
wildlife education.
Yeah.
Through the library as
was
well.
was
It's a
it
worthwhile partnership.
primarily just like abiling conflicts, or did they have any like general information about?
They talked
Bears
about
as well,
bears
in
and,
general,
and
okay.
also conflict.
Yeah, I mean, that's a
'Cause-
great
'cause
topic,
Their
I think.
habitat's getting smaller and smaller,
Right,
so we're running
absolutely.
into them more and more on a
Oh,
a
yeah, no,
basis.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm in like a suburb.
So
and-
if you follow the town board, you'll see mama bears and baby bears walking down
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Albuquerque
yeah.
and stuff. I mean, they're pretty much in our midst now.
I do think that's a great idea, yeah, if we could talk
I
about
can find
more
out
details
information
about
about
that, that'd
that.
be helpful, yeah.
So
get
it
back
sounds
to you.
like for next week, you're just looking for ideas, for,
We're ideally supposed to be able to pitch them how much it would cost and like a date, but I'm pretty sure those can be modified, because I don't believe New Hampshire Humanities needs to pay for it or have
Gotcha.
it marked down.
And I'm
Yeah,
looking for
as I
free,
say.
because our budget's non-existent.
Okay.
We don't have one.
We have,
Yeah.
we have a programming budget that we could probably, if it wasn't, just to give you an example of the one that we thought was a little on the expensive side, it was, starting at $325 for the birds, to come visit.
And you guys thought that was
Um,
expensive?
We thought that was a little on the high, we tend to do things for like 100 to 200 unless it's a
Okay.
big event, which maybe this could be. We spent closer to 300 on
Because
the,
if you combined that with the fish and game guy coming in
Right.
and talking about it, then you'd have two natural presentations.
That's true.
At one thing,
Yes.
and then you would have probably fulfilled what it is that you need to do that.
oh, yeah, no, we just need one in addition to the, a book discussion.
Okay,
We could do more.
Gotcha.
But we're not, we're asked to do a community event and a discussion of the book. That isn't, I don't know why that's not considered, anyway, so we're asked to do those two. But yeah, the bird thing is also a possibility, it was just a little,
how
at
about
the
I make a
time.
phone call to fish and game and I'll get back
Sure.
to you? Okay,
I think,
see if we can do
I think that would, so you gotta make a connection with
Yeah,
him?
Sure.
yeah,
on
I will,
this?
yep, I will.
So it sounds like there's a couple ideas
Yeah.
floating up there in the air, and we're not gonna be able to nail that down
Yeah,
to-
unfortunately, I
tonight,
didn't
but
think
if
we'd be able
you
to, yeah.
work with Diane to figure out what you
Sure.
wanna talk on, we can make the connections to Fish and Game,
Okay,
and then we can also support it in any way that
Yeah.
you need us to support.
Perfect.
that would be great, yeah, yeah, we did a partnership with Recreation last summer for a dog,
Right,
show
flying
thing
dog
that
show.
went- Yes,
That's
and that
right.
went really well, so,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
we'd
only a
love
couple
to.
$100?
That one, we did go higher than we usually do, that
Okay.
was, I think, more on the 300
I missed
end of
that and I
things.
really didn't
But,
want to, but I was traveling.
But it was like our big blowout thing for the summer, so we, we felt okay about that one.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I have to talk to Vicky about the budget, specifically, but,
when's your next meeting for the library?
oh, we're just there, I mean, I just see her,
But don't you go to the meetings?
for the trustees, you mean, or the?
Yeah,
I don't attend all the trustee meetings. Vicky's the one who generally goes to those.
Okay.
As the director.
oh, okay.
We're certainly allowed to. But she usually handles the like day-to-day operation stuff, and the trustees do the, policy changes and that sort of thing.
Okay,
But, so for something like this, I don't think we need to clear it with the trustees particularly. We just
I think what
settle on
Diane's
it.
saying is she
Oh,
could
sorry.
go there and you guys could discuss it
Oh,
and
oh,
start
oh.
nailing it down if it's
Yep.
within the next.
Ooh, sorry, I misunderstood. Okay,
I'll give you a call, Ben, tomorrow.
Yeah, that's fine.
and
We can just talk about
I'll
it
stop by
then.
probably Monday or Tuesday of next week.
sure, that would be great.
That work?
Cool.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you,
Maybe
Diane.
get some copies of that book together.
Yes, I'll put an order in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome, so,
All right.
good.
Nice to
Excellent.
meet you. Thanks
Yes,
for
nice
coming.
meeting you. Thanks for, sorry the request was a little last minute.
That's okay. It's
So
a
is the
beginning.
pickleball, and so is the Eversource. and
Everything
so
always
is the-
is.
Okay, next item on the agenda, Olson Mobile Home Park. Come on up, Eversource, you're next. So I want to make something I think clear, Mr. Croto. So Olson Mobile Home Park, the expansion, has no impact on wetlands, from what I hear. So there's no decisions to be made by this commission,
Do we abut
right?
it?
Well, my understanding is that they came before the planning board, and the planning board asked if they had come before the Conservation Commission regarding this project, and we suggested, it wasn't a requirement, but we suggested that maybe they'd want to come before this board tonight and make their presentation, and to show you exactly what it is that they're looking to propose, so.
Okay.
Do we know what the tax map number is?
It's 1-32.
Thank you.
And just for the record, Mr. Chairman, I am the chair of the planning board. I'm going to be abstaining from this discussion tonight because this is a pending application before the board.
Okay,
So just letting you know that.
that sounds good.
132, I see 131. I think that's where Normanton is.
Yep, so we're down here.
31. 132. I don't know
So
what
when
it's
you're
called
ready,
back
if you could
there.
come up, just state your name for the record.
Where would you prefer?
Right there is good.
Okay.
Fred can
Sorry,
see that, right?
old school.
Old school.
For the record, my name is Chris Guida, and I'm a certified wetland scientist and soil scientist with Fieldstone. Chad couldn't be here tonight, he had other commitments, so he asked me to come. This is obviously Olson's mobile home park. There's an existing mobile home right here in these kind of grayish colored, gray, brownish homes. I think it's 44 of them. The previous owner had kind of, I don't know, I can go through a little bit of history. It's a unique site. We got involved with a property transfer, and my understanding is that the previous owner passed away. And our client, Patriot Holdings, is purchasing this property. There was a lot of involvement with DES having to do with substandard septic systems. They actually had a lagoon out here, which they still do. We've been working through DES for basically temporary groundwater discharge permits for that. Lagoon, we've gotten lagoon closure plans approved. Septic systems approved. This one is installed right now, and it's pending backfill right now. It's approved by DES subsurface. We spent quite a bit of time on this. The initial phase was basically sorting out the environmental violations, if you will, mostly centered around the septic systems. These wetlands here are shown in kind of this grayish hatch. A lot of these wetlands are
Right there, huh?
have been manipulated a little bit in the past by the previous owner. But the development here, this area is kind of an open, you can see there, it's basically just it's a really sandy soil. There's been numbers of, most of them have been cleaned up right now, but there was a lot of old mobile homes, debris, things like that that have been out there and accumulated over the years. The one nice part about this parcel is it is kind of tucked in and removed, so it's not highly visible to surrounding property owners or, from the highway.
which unfortunately probably led to some of the practices that went on back there. We did go before the zoning board and got a variance for the use. It's obviously an existing mobile home, but it's not in the mobile home district area. So that has been approved as well. We've been through DES subsurface, as I mentioned, and got approvals for phase one is basically constructing the septic system, which is over here. And it gets pumped and gets serviced. It services all these existing dwellings, and it will service a couple of the proposed new mobile home units. And phase two will basically be replacing all the septic tanks here and closing the existing lagoon, which is basically out here. So as part of this, this property kind of lends itself to obviously providing for additional housing and expanding the mobile home park. It's relatively flat topography. A lot of it has been cleared already, so there's not a lot of basically work that has to get done as far as clearing and grubbing properties, trees and stumps and that sort of thing. All the development is proposed outside of the wetlands with no wetlands disturbance. That's essentially it. We've spent a lot of time, like I mentioned, with DES and also going through, the planning board process, which is ongoing now, to provide for basically the expansion of the existing mobile home park. There's not a lot of properties like this. Part of the infrastructure also, this is all on Pennachuck water service. All of this whole area here is basically getting redone as far as the water service and the septic, which is obviously fairly extensive and expensive. As part of that cost, they really need to be able to develop this area with new housing to basically just support that investment in the property.
Can you show us, it looks like you've got a.
Oh, yeah, yep. Yeah, this is kind of just an elevation of the proposed homes manufactured. They're double wides, with a proposed garage on there. They meet all the requirements for setbacks and for the town. So it's a, fairly nice, I think there's one of the other versions.
How many acres is this involved?
So, let's see, it's 40, so the whole parcel is 40 acres, just over 40.
And how large is the lot approximately? They standard size?
Yeah, so there's setbacks on here, so these meet all the setbacks. This is with a manufactured housing park. These aren't necessarily individual lots, as far as it only goes for septic loading. It's like a parcel, if you will, on the overall lot.
I see.
Okay, this is unfamiliar to me, but the existing structures of the trailers that are there,
Yep,
what did you say was gonna happen to them?
those are all staying.
Those are
People
gonna
live, yep, those
stay?
are completely occupied. The only difference is that there's gonna be upgrade for infrastructure. Basically, all the water lines are gonna get replaced,
Okay.
and the sewer and septic lines and septic tanks.
And the average size of the building lot on the new construction?
Yeah, so if we call this is a 100 scale, so it's about, looks like 150 by 75.
How many
Okay.
units are you gonna put in?
I think there's 55 new units, and there's 40.
And how many exist?
44, I believe. Just double check here.
And are these families, over 55s, whoever?
Yep, I don't think there's any restrictions on who's living
So the lots would be roughly 75 by 100?
Yeah, probably closer to, 75 by 125, it looks like, 150,
Okay.
just eyeballing it.
And how is the septic handled with that? With that
I'm s-
many units back there, how is the septic handled?
Oh, so this is the one that's installed and approved right now. It's right here in this hatched area.
Yeah,
I do have I think a copy of it here if you want to see that, but that is gonna service all of these units. So it's a fairly, large field. These other units, there's other fields here, there's another one proposed here, and I think there's another one, where is it? This will serve some of these units, and there's another field here which will serve those.
So there'd be more than one septic
Right, so,
system?
yep, and those are placed basically, the location has to do with the septic design, there's nitrates, once you get over 1,000
So-
gallons.
There'd be multiple households using the same septic
Correct.
system?
Community, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
correct.
And you're gonna install a sewer system,
Yeah, oh yeah, well, that's basically, that's what's
pipes,
going in.
manholes, services to the
Yep.
house, the whole 9 yards.
Absolutely, yep.
How many
That's a
peo-
new model for the old housing, the trailers. This is gonna be the new model.
Well, these are staying,
Yeah, but
And this is
the
the
septic
addition.
systems, the
Oh.
model you put in here is gonna be used there eventually.
I'm not sure I understand
For
the
septic,
question. Right,
the model you're using here, that's upgraded to the new structure. Is that gonna be included in the
Existing.
trailer park?
I think
Yes.
what he's
Yeah.
asking us,
Yes.
are the existing units going to be pumped into the new septic?
So it's all gonna be upgraded,
yes, so that was phase one, because there was obviously
okay.
a hazard
DES
going
How
on.
many
violation
people
or
are
something?
living, how many people are living there right now?
Well, there's 44
existing.
units, I don't know how many are in each one. Typically, a single wide mobile home is about 2 bedrooms.
No, how many units are being lived in, of the 44 that you have, that are existing? Are they all being lived in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they must be really happy to see you then.
Yeah, they came out in droves and
Yeah,
basically what happens is all these have individual septic tanks. Some of them have shared ones with double size, and those all flow basically down here to a pump station. And that pump station pumps it out to here. It,
There you go.
Yeah,
that's what
Previous-
that's the question.
okay, sorry, it previously pumped it to this lagoon.
Yeah,
So,
right.
Now, you had said that the
that's why
wetlands
you're involved.
was somewhat affected.
not from this proposal. The previous owner had
Okay.
done some work out there.
What
So you're
plans-
inside the buffer in the old unit as well, old units
Right, yeah,
are
there's-
inside the buffer.
There's like a seasonal brook that runs through here, and there's a bunch of culverts, for these roads.
And zoning approved that you can leave those there?
Yep.
Might be an
Well, they're
existing
existing.
condition.
I mean,
Because they're existing, okay.
yeah.
So what plans are proposed to protect the existing wetlands?
Yeah, so basically you can see all of this is outside of the wetlands and the buffer over here. And so, all this green area is basically open space. There's also a proposed, just a recreational walking path, and this yellow, I don't know if you can see it there, but it kind of goes around the whole perimeter
Oh,
here.
That's nice.
And that kind of ties into, to this over here and goes across the there's existing roadway out here now. This is power lines that come through here.
So this land would be coming out of current use, Michael, or would it be subject for each unit to be coming out of current use?
That's a good question.
Well, these are rental properties, so they'll be rented out by the owner.
So the owner still per unit would have to pay as he moved them out of current
Mm-hmm.
use though, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
a
I
good, that might be a Karen White question,
Yeah.
because the lot is already developed, so
Their trailer parks.
maybe it might not come. So
Well,
for the
if it's a
folks,
manufactured housing, I don't know how that, there could be a difference
Yeah,
in terms of how that
it's a good question.
gets
though.
accounted.
so for the newer folks on the board, Anytime a large lot gets developed that's larger than 10 acres, I'll put it this way, if you have a lot in town that's larger than 10 acres, say it's a 50-acre lot, you get a tax break, a significant tax break, when that lot stays vacant. As soon as it gets developed, they have to pay a penalty, which is 10% the value of the property. The Conservation Commission gets 80% of that deposited into our land fund to purchase pieces of property. So that's a good question. I'll ask Karen. It might be out of current use anyway, right now.
I
It's
don't know.
possible, but.
I don't know what the
Yeah.
taxes are,
It
Rick.
would-
Can you figure it out?
I don't
I
know
can't
that off the
from
top
here.
of my
Not
head,
from
but
here.
I know that this being, well, it's not really developed. There used to be a house back here too, so it was certainly utilized. It's not your typical current use property.
Right, it's more of a, I think it's a manufactured homes
Right.
type thing.
Yeah.
So
So
I don't think it,
I
I
don't know.
suspect it was
Yeah.
already.
I don't
out of
either, but
current use.
I
it's
think we'll
worth the
try.
question.
certainly can ask. Yeah.
I have a question. Now, the new construction, that's permanent housing? It's not rental housing?
It is rental.
Well, it's
It
probably
will
at
be.
least, yeah.
They'll be those properties will be rented out.
They won't be sold.
So they're not permanent?
So,
I
no,
mean, they're not what I would consider someone.
They're not gonna own them, they rent them out. They'll be renting those properties out. There'll be a
Right, so-
rental contract,
Okay,
a
most,
lease.
right, most typical mobile home parks is, there's an owner of the land underneath it, and then the individuals, sometimes, some of them are set up so that they own their own trailers, but they pay a fee, at least, rent to use that property and the infrastructure.
Are they on slabs,
Yes.
cement slab?
Yep. Yep, there's obviously building
So
codes
it's
to
really
go
a
along with that.
manufactured housing versus quote-unquote mobile home.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Isn't that
It's,
what's happening at
these,
Dark Hole?
a lot of these would more
There's
fall
slabs,
under
so
the.
there's foundations.
Yeah, well, at least they truck them in and they put them down versus. a big
Yeah, the
building.
new codes, even with, let's say,
So
mobile home, a
it's
single wide, also require a slab. And, there's a bunch of building codes that go along with that. Back in the day, they didn't really, they just,
We're learning a
But they're
lot.
adding, I don't understand why it wouldn't, because they're adding all of these residents to the town, and current use is supposed to protect the town from all these new residents that are gonna be using all the services. So I'm really not sure why it
Well,
wouldn't be a fee coming
current-
out of,
yeah, the current use, and I'm not a tax person, but from my understanding is that that's a state designation on the taxes. It's a relief, and it has to, you have to
because you're gonna add
actively put
55
it,
homes though.
you have to actively put it into current use.
Right, it's a
And there's
state
a lot of criteria.
directed
to get
thing.
that.
Let me see, Diane. I doubt it is because it's one piece of property right now.
30,
Oh, is it?
39.2 acres,
And,
132.
yeah, we can ask Karen that. It's
Yeah,
either
we can
in
find
current
out.
use or it's
Yeah.
not in current use. There isn't any wiggle room. You're either in it
Right.
or you're not.
Right,
And
so
she'll-
somebody's either been paying the appropriate amount of taxes on it, or they haven't.
Right.
And if they haven't, then it's gonna be adding 55 new families to our town, which the current use fee
Well,
is
there will be
supposed to
impact
protect us
fees.
from.
Okay,
Okay.
anybody, I had just a couple things, so we talked about this, putting on the Conservation Commission with, relates a lot to wetlands, so you confirm that you're outside the wetlands buffer, so there's no impact to the wetlands buffer, so we really don't have to take any action. Septic systems, you said are community septic systems, you talked about this, you're gonna build sewer systems, you're gonna make sure that's all
Correct.
cleaned up. You said, yeah, is that walking path actually gonna happen?
Yeah, it's not, it's a recreational path. They're not planning on building.
Like paving it or
No,
anything, but.
No, it's more of a, trail through the woods that,
Nice.
might be,
That's good.
We like
marked,
those,
whatever.
Start.
So,
we like those.
I did look at the plan, I did do a little bit of homework, and I read a couple of the notes. And you had mentioned in the notes, when you click on this piece of property in the GIS, nothing comes up. And you guys had mentioned in the notes, notice that their lot, look at the green area, does not look like the same shape as the lot on our tax map.
Yeah.
So it should be coming down here, going across, and going back up. And there was a note in there, and I have a question on the note, that it said something to the effect of, you guys did deed research and you figured out that this big swath of land is actually owned by the town of Litchfield and not by the state of New Hampshire. And I think you also had mentioned that this piece of property was incorrectly mapped. Is that true?
I'm not the surveyor, but I certainly would have to say yes. I know this property, there was gonna be a bypass, a number of years ago.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
we know.
That thing won't die.
Yeah, and there was a plan, a reference plan that had, the state was gonna take a big portion of this, and that never happened. So it's, as far as the tax maps, I mean, no offense to Litchfield, every town tax maps is somewhat subjective, and not always as accurate as the deeds and reference
So they are
plans. but-
bugging us.
Yeah, we'll figure that out too. It'd just be interesting to know, because I think everybody thought that this big chunk of land was owned by the state of New Hampshire, was taken for the highway project. And
Yeah.
it sounds
It was
like,
never
reading one of your
taken, right.
notes, that was the intention, but it never happened.
Correct.
And that they believe that this big chunk is actually owned by the town. That's what I read in the notes. I could be reading it wrong, but
I like it.
I don't know, we might have a piece of property we
Good
didn't
catch.
realize we had.
Nice.
Does anybody else have any other questions?
Yeah, probably a silly question. With the new structures, I'm assuming that the new structure is gonna put up, and it's gonna be permanent. I mean, people may change. In
Yeah.
other words, somebody may come in, rent it today, and then move out, and somebody else, but you're not gonna change structures. Once you put the structure up,
Right. I
it
mean,
stays.
You know, everything's got a lifespan, so, you know, I've done a lot of work on other mobile home parks like these. So commonly what happens with an older 1950s, 60s or something mobile home, they're not really built to the standards that a typical home is.
No.
The new manufactured ones are, but yeah, it's possible that in 70, 80 years that
Yeah.
someone might get replaced, but yeah.
Not worried about it.
Yeah.
I think I understand what you're saying. It's like someone owned the house and they just come and pick up the house and leave
Yes.
with them?
Oh, yeah.
I think that,
No, that's,
is that what you were
No.
going
Yeah.
that's
toward?
old
Okay.
school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
They're not really mobile.
right.
It's a mobile.
Manufactured, right.
Yeah.
Matt, do you have any questions?
I do not.
Harry, anything else?
No.
Anybody else have anything?
Just so you know, there will be a site walk on this project this Saturday, coming
time?
Saturday, January 7th. So,
Time?
Good time?
Matt, do you remember the time? I forget.
No, I can look it up. though.
I know it's in the minutes. It's gotta be in the minutes, because everyone, I wanna say 11 o'clock, but I could be wrong about that.
Okay.
But, yeah.
I don't see any action needed from us at all, other than maybe we'll send an email over to you guys saying we reviewed the plan.
Sure, you may
heard the
comment, you may
presentation.
commented on it, and, yeah,
Um,
sure.
No, they're not looking for any, us to,
We good?
Yeah.
Mr.
Okay.
French, anything?
No, so,
All right,
Okay, well,
thank you
for
very
your
much.
time.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda. Eversource transmission line structure, replacement work, temporary wetlands impact. Lindsay White. This is about the fourth one of these we've seen in the last 4 months.
yeah, we keep going.
10 a.m.
10 a.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Make sure we need to bring copies.
Yes, yeah, thank you very much. That helps out.
You guys almost done? No. She's laughing because it's
Put it all
no.
underground.
Come on.
Get it over with. Hold on just a second, let's see what I got. All right, state your name for the record.
Yeah, so I'm Lindsay White with GZA Geoenvironmental.
Jeremy Fennell, Eversource Licensing and Permitting.
Excellent.
And we are here this evening to talk about a special exception application that was submitted for upcoming utility line maintenance work, which will result in temporary impacts to the Wetlands Conservation District.
Okay,
Eversource is looking to replace select utility poles along the H123 transmission line. These poles were identified as needing to be replaced based on routine utility line inspections and need to be replaced to maintain the safety and reliability of the line. The H123 transmission line, there's a couple that run through Litchfield. It's hard to find the right one on there.
So it's gonna be the one that runs behind the big field by Licks.
There's by the middle school. I know that
Maybe
landmark.
this one right here.
I'm trying to find. Runs to the golf course. Meets up with another line.
There it is, right here, this,
If I give you a tax map and lot, would that help us find it?
yep.
15 lot 49.
1549?
Yep.
Might have not put the find button here. Hang on. Oh, that's corner of Hillcrest.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, that's cool.
So one of the many parcels.
Yep.
And so yeah, this line is about 3.5 miles in length, and it crosses through portions of Merrimack and Litchfield, primarily through Litchfield though. Yep, so that's the one that we're running with. And Eversource is proposing to replace 7 of the existing utility poles for this project. And that includes 2 off of Charles Bancroft Highway up by where we were, by that Hillcrest intersection.
By the golf course?
On this side where
Yeah.
this parcel is, yep,
Okay,
crosses through there. So there's 2 off of that intersection, and then there's 2 off of Pinecrest Road.
okay. So even though you've got, so if you look at the map, how many in each, where are you doing the work? What map numbers? All 5 map numbers?
Yeah, so it requires access to each of the poles, and some of them are further into the right of way and not just right off the road.
Okay,
And so on the second page, you see it comes off and hits a corner structure and keeps going down, and they're replacing structures 171 and 173 off of Charles Bancroft Highway. And there's 2 off of Pinecrest Road, and those are shown on page 4 and partially into page 5. And that's poles 188 and 189 being replaced.
okay. All right, so if you look at the map, they've got can you tell us about the mapping here? And I see the hatching.
Yeah.
Maybe just give us a little bit of background on that.
Definitely, so the work requires, like I said, access to each of the poles as well as a temporary work pad around each of the poles in order to stage equipment during construction. And where the access and work pads are proposed within wetlands and the wetland buffer areas, they would be using temporary timber matting. And so those are large 16 by 4 foot timber mats. They're temporary, and they minimize and prevent rutting and compaction by increasing the surface area for equipment.
Can you blow that area up, Jay?
Yep. Bear with me a second, I'm right here. So it's gonna be, what you're looking at on that page
Just trying to see how much.
4 of 5 is this right in here.
Yep,
We
it
just don't have the
crosses.
utility poles on there.
Right.
But you can see that, you can see that drive right there is
Yep.
right here, where my hand is.
Okay.
So the power poles kind of come right down through here. And it looks like they're gonna be entering in here. And they're gonna be going down about 3.5 lots, 1, 2, 3.5, so the wetland areas. Don't you live off of here somewhere?
Up above Brickyard, a bit further.
And on the mapping, we have the wetlands are kind of a transparent green color, and then the buffer, the 50-foot buffer is the pink that's around it.
Okay,
You can see the squares around each of the pole numbers, that's the temporary work pads.
okay, gotcha.
Where there's sort of orange hatching and yellow hatching, those are the buffer and wetland impacts that are temporary.
All right, we got it.
On each each page where the poles are.
So can we do this? Let's just go page 1 for an example. I think we're zooming around the map
Sure.
to figure out what's going on. If you take a look at page 1 of 5, where are the wetland impacts?
Yep, 1
And
of
that is on the
5.
corner of Hillcrest and
And-
3A. So
yes.
let me just go to the map here and let me bring that up. Okay. All right, so go ahead, if you could walk us through this and tell us what the wetland impacts are.
Yeah, so you see pole 165 is labeled, and there's a small work pad, there's a box around it. It's the yellow hatching that overlaps with the green, and you can see a stream crossing there. So all that yellow hatching would be the temporary wetland impact. And all of that would be proposed as timber matting.
Okay. And where would you enter? Do you have an entrance plan here?
Off of Charles Bancroft?
Okay, so you're just gonna be coming right in here.
Yep.
So what do you do for impact to the stream?
We bridge mat over it,
Okay,
so you can build a small bridge with the matting.
okay.
They can cross over.
How long do you expect it to be there?
So the timeline for this project is about the late March to late June timeframe. That's when the outages are scheduled for this line to be for the pole replacements.
Okay, so on page 1 of 5, the wetland impact is the yellow hatch.
Yes.
And what is the hatching at 165?
That is the buffer impacts.
Okay,
And then there's the bridge
yeah,
she
so
talked about.
there's a lot going on here. I'm just trying to think, we're gonna have to make a motion on this at some point in time. So just to be clear, to restate, Harry, are you following this?
Yeah,
So we've got, and we have, when you say wetlands buffer, do you mean the 50-foot
Yes.
wetlands buffer or the 75-foot wetlands buffer?
I believe we have the 50-foot wetlands buffer.
Okay, so the 50-foot, there are two so for Fred, we're gonna have the building inspector in here, I think in the coming weeks, to just kind of discuss wetlands and the buffering and stuff like that, but Litchfield has 2 wetlands buffers, a 75-foot buffer where you're not supposed to build any houses or I think the term is buildings, I don't know if it's structures or buildings. And then there's a 50-foot non-disturb, which we just talked about with the pickleball courts. Anytime they impact that wetland buffer, they have to go to the zoning board to get a variance for that. And so what we have to figure out tonight is, do we have any issues with that? And if we don't have any issues, we then will send a letter to the zoning board stating that we don't have any issues, or these are our comments related to this, and then they'll take that into consideration when they go through the variance process. So what we have to look at is not only the wetlands, we have to look at the wetland buffer. So if you can point us on map 1 of 5, the wetland buffer impacts are the tan, and then the actual physical wetland impacts are the yellow.
Yes.
All right.
There's a lot going on.
And so that's a one-shot deal. You're kind of entering, you did a lot of work here on a switch, couple of years, well, you're chuckling. There's some switching equipment up in here, and you did a lot of work in here.
Yep.
A couple of years ago. Are you doing anything on this side of
Not
Charles
for this
Bancroft
project.
There was somebody over there the other day, though. I don't know what they were doing.
I mean, we do maintenance.
Yeah.
They did pole replacement, and they replaced these poles a
Yep.
couple of years ago, and then
Yep.
put some
That's
new
the
switching equipment right there. Okay, so this one is, you're coming in here, you're going to, there's a, I wouldn't even call it a stream, it's a ditch, and you're gonna build a temporary bridge here, and
Yeah, bridge is over with the timber
Okay.
mats.
and then you're in, and then you're out,
On this side, well, we would keep,
or you
So,
keep going?
keep going.
All right, that's
We're
what
still
I'm
going.
getting at.
So do you work on this and complete this first, or
it will start
as a
off the
project?
road.
Or
The-
you just lay out the maps and then?
They go, I believe that they go in, it's gonna be a pretty.
They lay the mats for this,
Yeah, I mean, they start from the road and they
Yeah.
work out.
and then they finish this end, part of the project, and then go to another area?
Well, they'll need to leave the mast
Continuous.
down the entire time, right?
Yeah.
Because the equipment's gotta go back and forth.
They
Yeah,
use
until
the
the
same
pole-
path
So
for
I would
everything?
work from the outside in.
For this section, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It'll be in there until poles are replaced
And
and
we're
everything gets
still March
restored.
through June for the whole project?
Yeah, from
Okay.
start to finish with restoration and everything to make sure everything gets
And
covered.
the maps will be out by
Yeah,
June.
by late June,
Yeah.
that's when the mats would, everything would be out.
So it's in the wet season.
Did you folks do some work? I'm looking at 105 across the Charles Brankoff Highway. Didn't you do some work in there already?
You mean the golf course?
Yeah.
No, not on the
No,
golf
he's
side.
talking
talking
about the
about,
last
down off of like parallel to Cummings, between, Charles Bancroft Highway and, Brickyard. It's the transmission line going the,
Yeah, we've been.
Other directions.
We've been working on several transmission lines in there.
Yeah, because I thought I saw you.
Yeah,
No,
you did.
Not you
In the
guys.
summer, no, you saw me
yeah,
last summer.
that's a different
Yeah.
line though.
Yeah.
It's coming from Merrimack.
Okay, but that has nothing to do with what you would,
So this whole thing goes together though? with
that-
this-
I can't, I don't know exactly what project you were talking about, but.
This is a different
The
one.
Well-
one, yeah,
no, I've seen
yeah.
the trucks down there and I've seen them putting down the mats and
Yeah, they were,
the ties and all that sort of stuff. And-
So this will
Henry,
be
they were
a
working
very
on
similar
this line.
construction
Bridging
sequence.
goes in
Okay,
this
anyway.
one,
Yeah,
and then
And then you just
they're
keep
finished,
going,
and then they're gonna come in from the other way
replace. You've got that many poles to replace?
to
yeah,
get
How
to one
many? I'm
eighty.
just curious.
roughly.
Through Pinecrest.
yeah, we're
think
not,
so.
I'm not
Yeah.
exactly
I
sure the
think I'm
number
getting
off the top of my
Yeah.
head. I mean, there's a lot
Trying
of
to-
transmission infrastructure in Litchfield.
Knock this out here for a second.
I don't understand why I didn't have power for 2 days, but we won't talk about that.
Days.
Get
Yeah.
to buy you generators now.
Yeah. I have a generator.
I know, I do too.
I had Peter out there with his bicycle getting it to go.
Okay, so I'm just trying to like flag these things in my mind. So it looks like we have one wetland area here, and that is that one, just so these folks can like understand, and I can get a handle on what's going on. And then if we come down, it looks like before it bends, if I go to map 2, ooh, wait, at the end of map 1, there's, oh no, that's they
Charles
overlap,
Bancroft.
sorry. So it goes down and then it hits a bend. So it looks like this is the impact on map 1. And then it comes up here and it bends, and then you hit pole 171, which is in the middle of like this lot right
Yep.
here, it looks like.
15-6, next one.
Yep, it'd be the next one down here, it'd be like right there. Right, and get back to here on this. So somewhere in there, there's an impact. So we're doing this on the fly. So now we can figure out what's going on. Okay, and then impact number 3 is the next lot down, like somewhere around there.
I do have one question first, because
Yeah.
it's saying here that the 35.378 square feet, and it's coming up here to where pole 170 is. Is that referring all to your like walkway area?
Yes,
that
that's
you're-
to all of the
okay.
wetland impact
Okay.
in that wetland system.
Okay.
Yep.
Does that, so when you get to page 3 of 5 and you're at pole 173,
It ends there.
it ends there. So you basically got, you're doing at least two surgical strikes. One surgical strike is gonna be right here, and you're gonna be coming in, you're gonna be crossing a wetland. You're gonna be impacting a wetland right here, and then you've got 2 other impacts.
Those
Up
are the
here.
2 poles that are being replaced.
Yep, and then you're gonna turn around and go back out.
And you're gonna come back.
And we're gonna go back the other way.
On Pinecrest, okay.
And then are you done on that northern section?
For this project, yes.
Okay. All right, so that takes us to map 4 of 5, where it starts at
Pinecrest.
Pinecrest.
So that project will be, that's one project, that section?
Well, these are, it's all one project.
You
It's just
count it all as
segments.
one project?
Yeah.
Okay.
When it's just like the one transmission line and we have the certain set of poles that are being replaced, that's the project.
And you need to go back in and check, maybe have to check or work on it when you
There-
finish the other section?
Yeah,
You
so
may have
this,
to
this
go back
will,
to one section after the other?
yeah, so they could build out into that section and go build out the other sections and go and do the pole work.
Tie the two together?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So 188, 189 is coming in from Pinecrest, but just those two, and then we're coming in from another, someplace else. to do
From where the current
190.
work
Well,
is.
188, 189, that's upland. So
It's
there-
all upland.
So I don't think there's any wetland or buffer impact on
Okay.
that
Okay.
map, right?
Right.
So then you're coming in to do 190, 91, 92, 93. Where are you coming in to do that? Because I see,
Yeah, so we have proposed potential access, but that depends
Brickyard.
on, so Brickyard is our primary entrance.
Okay.
Because that comes in through another Eversource right of way.
okay.
And then we might be able to use other off right of way access routes depending on the outreach.
The purple
folks.
one?
Yeah,
The
if
purple
they
one that's right
work with the
there?
landowners, we just try to identify additional routes that can minimize impact, but it's up to the underlying property owners if they allow us access or not. So to have a primary access road, we'd be coming off Brickyard within the right of way, and that goes right to 192.
Yep. So we have 3 entry points.
Now,
Yeah.
are you guys working on replacing poles on when you drive down 3A right now, you see a lot of activity. Is that replacing poles over there now?
Yeah, that's right here,
Looks like
Henry.
it's the
Is
biggest one.
Bancroft,
Yeah,
is that 3A?
That looks.
Yeah.
like
Yes.
the
Yeah,
biggest.
Same.
Yeah, it's Henry, it's right here, this is
Yeah.
where they're working right now.
Yeah.
So this is the transmission line going perpendicular to that, crossing over it.
I think I got it.
That's
Okay.
where you're working right now.
I think there's,
That's
yeah,
one we already
Yeah.
approved, right?
Yeah.
So then 193 looks like it's the biggest area that's gonna be affected for the wetlands.
yeah, so in addition to part of the pole replacement work, after the poles are replaced, Eversource is replacing what's the existing static wire, which are the highest running wires,
Okay.
with optical ground wire, and those serve to shield the conductor wires, the actual transmission wires from lightning during storm events.
Yay.
So they're doing that kind of system-wide on a lot of transmission lines, so part of that is having some pole pads, additional work areas to set up equipment to pull the lines. And so that's why that's a large area that's going on right there, there'll be a lot of maintenance equipment going on in that section. But it's all gonna be constructed of that timber matting, all in there.
I think I got it.
This is where
So
you missed Joan though.
this one right here is another strategic strike. So on that second page, it looks like you've got 3 or 4 wetland impacts in this area. Does that sound right?
We have poles that are being replaced, those 3 poles, but, so 190 has a little bit of buffer impact.
Yeah, I think that's that one.
Yeah,
So
and then
just
191,
12 dots.
yep, has a
And
little bit
then
of buffer, and then wetland and buffer.
Okay.
Yep.
And then how are you accessing? Are you accessing from here and coming down?
No, so that's coming from Brickyard for those 3.
Okay.
On the other side of the river that's there, we get to Pinecrest. Nope, yeah, so that's
Oh.
coming in, but those are all upland areas.
Okay.
So we don't have any wetland impact there.
So I think that's pretty much right.
Yep.
Okay.
So have they redone everything that they said they were gonna do for the last ones?
She's still got open wounds.
I'm not on
Um,
that project.
So are there any, I'm putting my Joan hat on because she actually asked this question during that, the last one that you have that's going down toward 3A. Fishing game, any impacts there?
So we do have, as part of the project process, we do reach out to Natural Heritage Bureau and get the reports back that have the rare plant and
On those
animal
names and
species,
stuff.
yes. So we are in the coordination process right now with New Hampshire Fish and Game So they're aware of the project and we're working on our coordination with them and any BMPs that they want us to implement.
Did they
'Cause
get
usually
any
we get
hits?
that.
Yeah, yep.
Okay. So when they do a project, again, Joan had on, when they do one of these projects, they check with Fish and Game. Fish and Game has this super secret database. They give them the address, and they basically come up and tell you if there's any endangered species in that area,
In the
but I
vic- yeah,
don't think
the
they give you a
vicinity.
map showing you where they are. I think they just give you a general,
Instead of
there's
a
a hit
list.
or there's no hits.
Yep.
And Joan at the last one stated that there's some reporting that goes on between you and Fish and Game, and we wanted to get a copy of that report of anything that you found in the field.
If we come across, so yeah, when we do, the environmental consultant, so GZA will be on this project, we'll do, routine, like weekly inspections, of the construction process, and part of our job is to be on the lookout for rare, threatened, endangered species. So if we find one, we do report that to New Hampshire Fish and Game.
Okay.
And I think it's, Joan usually says it's either blanting turtles or hognose snake.
Hognose
Yeah.
snakes.
Her
I've never
favorite.
seen one.
Yeah, but I
Hopefully
guess
they
they're out there,
exist.
so.
Okay.
Do they bite?
So that sounds like the impact of, and you already answered this question, but I was too busy
Yeah.
panning around the map.
Sure.
For those 3 dots, so those 3 points on map, page 5, which you have impacts, which is 190, 191, and 192. All those are being accessed through Brickyard?
Yes.
All right, so you're gonna come in and go out, and you're not gonna.
One or two areas. One is their own access point, and they're negotiating with neighbors to make it a
Okay,
different
gotcha.
one.
And for one of these ones over
Yeah,
here?
Yeah, they're,
92,
Okay, got it.
yep, so
maybe.
that looks right.
Is that
For our
what that
primary.
purple line is?
Yeah,
map?
Yeah, the
That's
maybe.
That's, yeah, if they can come to an agreement with the property owners, it would reduce impact, because if we could come in, say, to 190, we would just build the work pad there and not have to do the access. But again, depends on.
Does anybody have any questions? And, well, you do, anybody have, Matt, do you have anything?
No.
I'm gonna just go back. So I'm gonna look at the motion.
Yeah.
I think it's recently when you did the 3A, well, you came in to do the polls along 3A, I think earlier this year. I'm just gonna see if we've got the letter to the
Yeah.
zoning board for that, and I wanna go through take a look at that just to make sure there's, take a look at what the requirements are.
Yeah, I do have one question. At the
Yeah.
completion of the project, do you have to get a sign off to approve of like, that everything's been restored?
Part of our work that we have to do is EPA's construction general permit, so we have to abide by a stormwater pollution prevention plan, and part of that is a notice of intention to the EPA and a notice of termination. And to have those successfully completed, we have to upload photos and documentation of restoration efforts. And so we have to meet a minimum vegetation requirement when we close out the project.
So
We are missing our
does that
wetlands
include like
person.
replanting native vegetation or whatever?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Does that include like replanting native vegetation that may be impacted?
The seed bank surprisingly comes back very quickly.
Yeah.
We haven't had to, in wetlands, we have not typically had to seed. It usually pops back pretty quickly on its own. In areas where, especially in uplands, disturbance, if it's on a slope or something, we'll do seeding, but typically not full replantings or anything like that.
What is the total wetland impact? Do you know that, answer to that?
I
And
sure
the
do.
total buffer impact?
I sure
You
do.
get paid to do this.
Got it. Upland buffer impact square footage is 48,458 square feet.
Wait, you said upland, so,
Upland buffer, so it's the buffer to the wetlands.
okay,
Sorry, wetland buffer,
okay.
48,458.
Okay. Wait a second,
Wetlands.
hold on.
Okay, sorry.
Let me see, I can't write as fast as I can type. Buffer equals 48,
458,
458, 48458.
yes.
What is your total wetland impact?
Wetland is 81,513.
And the reason why I ask that is I'm looking at the letter that we sent before, just making sure that we've got everything covered in there.
Yeah.
Also notice those 2 bullet items below there. Conservation Commission to receive the report from Fish and Game.
I never remember saying it.
The project's not done either.
Okay.
Or if they don't come across anything, I'm saying this is if we,
But Fish and
See.
Game has a report too, of what should be there, of what could be there, right?
so we get the Natural Heritage Bureau report pretty early on.
Of what could be there?
Yeah, so we get the list.
Okay.
So I'm not
And
sure
then
if
if you-
there's no
and
like
if
final
you-
report.
If you find something there.
Yeah,
It gets reported.
Yeah.
And then it gets pushed up to Fish
that
and
goes
Game.
to Fish and Game, yeah.
All right.
So that's what I thought you were talking
people that are
about.
working in the field, if they
Yeah.
notice a snake and they say, oh, I know that's a hognose snake.
Yeah.
They report it.
Yep,
Okay.
so we'd fill out a,
Doesn't
it's
seem like a
like,
really reliable method.
it's a RARP form and it goes off to Fish and Game, then they document
Yeah.
it into the database.
Yep.
So that would come up on future projects.
Okay. The 81,000 total wetland buffer, is the big chunk of that piece at Hillcrest,
It says it
or
under
at Brickyard?
It says it under it on the
There's a good
page.
chunk in there.
And the other chunks on page 1?
Yeah, I think map page 2 for that access through the
17,
large wetland.
22.
Wait a second, I'm looking for the. Yeah, 192, 165, and 166. All right, so let me see where they were. Take a look. Harry, do you have any questions? I'm just gonna take a really quick look at the last motion that we made to see if it's in here, just to see if there's anything.
So are those poles going from wooden to metal? Are those
Mhm.
wooden poles? Okay,
Yeah.
just making sure.
Because of weight on the lines?
Just better longevity, lifespan, updated electrical
Less
codes.
maintenance.
Motion is never up yet.
Okay,
I just
I
put in
think
the
that's
poles.
fine.
Yeah,
Think
just-
so?
I would put the poll numbers.
With the
Either
Fish and
the
Game
poll
report
numbers,
though,
or
you
we can
mean?
just
if-
reference the project in total.
Okay.
Do you wanna try it, or anybody
Yeah.
else got anything?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'd like
I mean,
to make a
this one is-
motion to send a letter to the zoning board of adjustment from the Conservation Commission to say that the Conservation Commission has no opposition regarding the work that Eversource wants to do from H123 transmission line structure replacement project, with the stipulation that the Conservation Commission receives a finished report from non-game and New Hampshire Fish and Game. Building inspector would like a pre and post inspection of the properties.
I'll second.
Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Anybody have any
I'll
discussion?
second it.
Oh,
Oh.
wait a second. We had a motion
And a
by,
second.
Oh,
by
Diane.
Diane. And we had a
Second.
second by Mr. Croto. Anybody have any discussion? So the couple of the stipulations here, we talked about the Fish and Game, and the other stipulation is that we're also gonna recommend that the building inspector come out ahead of time, take a look at what it looks like out there, and then after construction is done, he's gonna go back out there and just make sure everything looks cool, and then he'll most likely get with you if there are any issues with, whatever restoration work that you've done.
And you have those figures, so you'll write that letter?
I think we're good on that.
You can do the letter?
Yeah, I'll include that in the letter. I'm gonna include the
Yep.
buffer impacts and the total wetland impacts in the letter.
Okay.
All right, with all that, let's just call it to vote. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 600.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good job.
Thanks.
You had your stuff together.
It's just taken us a little bit longer, because Joan wears that hat, and she's just not here, so we're trying to make sure we completely understand what we're doing.
Could I take a look at that?
She
You had
was,
the numbers, which is good.
one of my first presentations was to Joan for another project out here.
Really?
Way back in the day, when I was just a baby. I was sad she wasn't here today. Thank
Because
you.
you're not a baby anymore.
Where are we? Let's see.
Equipment purchases?
Oh, equipment purchases, yes. So I've actually got two motions to make regarding equipment purchases. During the last meeting in December, I made a statement that any money that we had left over in our budget, we're gonna go buy equipment with.
Tools and stuff.
We had a whopping $74 left
Wow.
in the budget. And then we need some chains for the chainsaws, they were like $70, and we ended up purchasing those. Since the new town administrator has come on board, she wants to have the commission's vote basically on every expense. So I need to kind of retroactively go back through and make sure that we're covered on that. And then where the previous town administrator, we didn't have to do that. So I'm gonna
We did
make
pretty
a,
much make motions for everything every time anyway.
yeah. So I'm gonna make a motion. I make a motion that per the Conservation Commission's discussion during our December 2022 meeting, the commission votes to expend $70 of the remaining 2022 budget funds to purchase chainsaw chains for the Conservation Commission chainsaw.
I second that motion.
Motion by myself, seconded by Diane. Any discussion on that? There's 3 chains in the pack. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, all those abstain, motion carries 6-0-0. I'm gonna make another motion to try to hopefully avoid this situation later on down the line. For our budget, knock on wood, it passes in March, we got a whopping $300 in the equipment line. We tried to go for like $1,200, but we got $300 in the equipment. We've had nothing before, $1, so it went up 300%.
How about gas?
Pay for it ourselves, yes.
Yep.
Yep. So there's $300 in the equipment line. What I'd like to do, or I'd like to see if what the commission thinks about this, is I'd like to make a motion that we can expend up to that $300. I'm gonna list the types of things that we might have to purchase, and I'm gonna say, under the discretion of the chairman, to purchase these things, which means that if we need something gas right away, we can go purchase it and expense it, versus purchasing it, coming back here for a vote to say that we need $20 worth of gas.
Chainsaw oil.
Anything. Does anybody have any objections to that? I put in the statement of there per the discretion of the chairman, just to make sure that it kind of funnels through one spot. I might not be the chair at the next go-around come March or something like that. But so whoever the chair is, they'll be responsible for submitting the expense reports and stuff.
Is the diesel for the tractor covered under that expense, or is that something else?
It could be. We have been getting diesel for the tractor from the highway department. They do have a diesel pump there.
Okay.
And we've only actually maybe filled it, it takes 5 gallons, and we've maybe filled it 3 times in the year. It's been pretty good. So I'm gonna make a motion, if anybody has any issue with this,
Can
please.
we get the budget to exceed 300 is?
That's what I'm gonna say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I get it. I did my homework this meeting here. So I make a motion that the Conservation Commission allow the purchase of up to $300 in equipment and supplies related to property and equipment maintenance at the discretion of the chairman. This may include fuel, tractor supplies and peripherals, trailer supplies, signs, chains, locks, lumber, construction supplies, paint, tools, trimmers, saws, chainsaw equipment, general hardware, and personal protective equipment.
I second it.
We have a motion by me, a second by Diane. So there's a reasoning why I stated all that stuff. Because I think if that is like a big enough umbrella of things that we would purchase, that we need to purchase, now it's only $300.
Said more words than we have dollars.
Right, exactly.
Hey,
And so to kind of make a blanket so that if we need something, you guys just tell me, I can go and charge it, I can buy it and then expense it and be done with it. Any issues with that, Harry? If we need a lock, let me know. If you're the chairman come June, you can go buy the lock. All right, I'll call it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, all those abstain, motion carries 600. I have those motions written down if you need them. GIS sites. Oh, I put up in the portal. So the maps and stuff that I'm showing online, like scrolling through here, I put up in the portal the links to those where everybody can get access to them. So the first site that we had used quite a bit is the NRPC mapping site. And if you come in here, you can, just go to this address or go to the web address and you can type in an address or owner name, I think, and it gives you all the information. You can come over here and view the different data layers they have, like wetlands and land use and flood hazard zones and things like that. So we use this quite a bit, and I put the link up in the portal for people to access. And then for Litchfield, if you remember, actually before I came on the board, we ended up getting a subscription service.
yeah.
To support mapping. And over the past couple weeks, I put this together for our internal use. So it's a little bit, it's like the NRPC site, it's the same data, but we actually had aerial imagery flown in 2022 for stormwater mapping. So this is like pretty good stuff. And so over here, we've got, the typical data, and then we've got different data layers for the parcels, streams, buildings, FEMA floodplains, and if, you just click on this little thing over there, and, if there's any FEMA floodplains in the area, and there they are right there. It's all available to us.
Jason, I had one question. From that, can we tell, like, for the different conservation areas, what land is associated? Because I was walking around on that, the area we have at the end of Bird Street, and I couldn't determine it.
In the NR, so the data between the two sites is the same. I just pulled the NRPC data into a different website that allows us to do some more things. But to answer your question directly, if you click on the button here on NRPC for conserve lands, and you click on that, all those pieces of property have some sort of conservation, either owned by us or have some sort of conservation easement on it. Those aren't super duper accurate, we've noticed. So we need to work with NRPC to pull some out and add some in. So that's just a tool at our disposal, and I put them up there. All right, old business, nothing. Other business, property checks and property maintenance. Anybody been out to anything?
I stopped by Morse Falls and looked at that,
Kiosk.
not gate, but
Kiosk?
the kiosk. And if the weather warms up or settles out, I'll be filling that and not repairing it. Also, I did a trash collection again over there, and
What did you find?
well, let's see. I found a pie tin, a Nips bottle, not Dunkin' Donuts, but I think
I really want a garbage can over there so badly.
McDonald's, cup, bunch of papers. So,
That's appreciated.
you know, I just happened to be over there and,
Every once in a while, if anybody gets a chance, that when you're driving by, maybe pull in there, and there's usually some beer cans kicking around there. Diane's hanging out in the parking lot, I guess, at night.
I hang out with the teenagers up there, yeah.
Has anybody taken a walk behind Stage Crossing at all, or the property, land out there?
This one right here, that's the stage crossing property. I have before, not in
Recently,
the past few months.
Recently,
Yeah,
No.
not recently.
no, I still don't think we've got signs up there.
Do we? Did we put signs out there?
No, we never put signs out there.
We should do it before they forget that we have permission to do it.
So we do own this piece of property behind the library, that's who's talking about stage crossing, and we have an easement between these two houses that actually takes you back there.
It's been a bone of
And
contention.
it's been a bone of contention, they don't want that easement there.
But we win,
But it's
it's
there.
ours. We went through the whole process, so we should flag it.
I'm just saying, it might be, this being a good time, this time of year is usually a good time to go out there, only because if it's, well, weather
Frozen.
permitting, obviously, but,
Frozen,
yeah,
yeah,
Easier to walk on.
right,
yeah,
so.
I agree, maybe
good point.
we'll see how the weather holds out, but, maybe what we can do before the leaves come back on the trees, we can do a little sidewalk out there, it's really nice out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, it's really nice out there.
So the landowners are the ones that don't like people going out through there?
Yeah, there's a 55 and older in
Yeah,
here, and there's an easement, yeah, and
They don't like how it
They
was
don't-
acquired.
it's a tough situation, because in order for someone to get up to that easement, you gotta park somewhere, and it's a
And there's
private
no place to
road, so you can park at the library and walk
Gotcha.
Walk
up
up.
there. And so Diane, and I think you gave it your best shot to see if we could figure if there was a way we could work with them to make an entrance down here, and we might be willing to give that up. I think we put that on the table at one point in time.
Yeah, we worked really hard to try and make some changes over there, but their stubbornness and our stubbornness was
Yeah.
kind of met in the middle, and there was really nowhere else to go but
I
to
think the best
reclaim
thing to
it.
do is probably just leave it alone. I mean, I think what you have now,
Yep.
keep it.
Yeah, we gotta put some signs up.
Matt, do you have anything?
I did walk that, area by Bird Street, everything was real clean there.
That's good to hear. Matt and I, on a whim, last weekend, we went and we ended up going into the muster field and brush hogging this all. We made a motion, I think in October, we wanted to try to go and reclaim that field back there, so this was a field, that dates, I heard dates back to the 1700s, and it just got all overgrown. We were lucky enough for someone to give us a piece of equipment that is a professional brush hog. And we went in there, and I'd probably say in a couple of hours, we brushed it out pretty well. So if you walk up there now, it still needs work, but it was such a nice day.
Yeah.
It was, I think it was January, it might have been New Year's Day, we were up there. And
Appreciate that.
yeah, we cleaned up, and I sent it, I actually took a snapshot, and then I submitted it to the little website that we have, and if you click on it, you can see the picture, but I think it's gonna be nice when we get that done. If we can maintain that, you get up to the top of the hill, it opens up, you're overlooking the river.
Nice.
It's really nice.
And that was requested by the Historical Society too, so,
That was.
yep.
So we did that last month, and we had a number of other things on the list that we'll have to see how the weather pans out, but. Anybody else have anything?
what, just general,
Yeah, so let's go to member input. Matt, I'll start with you.
No, nothing additional.
okay, I'm gonna start on the fishing derby. I'll contact the superintendent of schools and the principal of Griffin to get the okay to, post put up a poster for the fishing derby. I'll also get hold of the state to get the permit for the fishing derby.
Okay.
And I'll get hold of the fish farm and see how bad what the prices are and all that sort of stuff. And then I'll get with Jeff Thomas and
Town.
Town, sorry, and start working with him to get that squared away, so. And then try to get down to down to the brook and just to see, but I haven't.
There's gotta be a lot of trees down over there with that.
Pardon?
I'm sure there's a lot of trees down over there, it's gonna need some maintenance.
It's talking about Parker Park.
With
Parker
that
Park,
windstorm,
Yeah,
who
that windstorm,
knows?
yeah, probably took out a lot of trees.
So, I got all those things I wanna get going on.
I spoke to,
Does that mean that if we have expenses on the fishing derby,
That would be, so we would have to do a separate motion for that.
okay, but we'd have to have a motion for that,
Yep. We have to have a motion for everything.
okay. Well, no, just so that I'm aware, and I'll get with the rec committee and
Okay.
coordinate that.
Do you know if I know they got their budget slashed. A lot of folks got their budget slashed because of the tax cap.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering if the fishing derby was part of the slash or not part of the slash.
I think, I
I
thought I
thought-
talked to Steve about it, but I don't remember what he said. I'll follow up and find
Okay.
out.
I did speak to, I know you had asked me to talk to Mr. Lemire, I talked to Mr. Lemire a little
Mhm.
bit at the tree farm. His wife had recommended that I not talk to him until after the Christmas tree season was over. Because they're crazy busy up there.
Well, no,
But
sure.
I did talk to him a little bit, and, I think he could be persuaded. There were some things that happened last year that he was not real happy with.
No, I know.
So we would need to sit down together and talk about what his
Okay.
role would be and how things would run.
Yeah, I know that one thing, and I don't mean to belay it, but one thing in the prize is they're not gonna be as dynamic as they were last year, okay?
Did you have more dynamic project prizes other than the ones that he gave?
No.
Okay.
I don't think the prizes are even the draw. I think.
I don't think so
yeah, I
either,
think
but
Just getting
Well,
some fishing in is
I
good.
mean, one thing that we talked to Jeff about is that limit the amount of fishing rods that we're gonna give away, because 99% of the kids already have a fishing rod,
Okay.
Yeah.
so. But we'll work on that and come up with.
well,
a
maybe you
propo-
don't need somebody to do that for you then. Maybe you don't need a sponsor involved.
Well,
I think-
I'd like to see him involved. He appeared to be, my impression, he appeared to be genuinely interested in sponsoring.
He wants to get kids to, he wants to get kids to fish. He
Yes.
thinks ahead.
And
He
I
was the
would-
one that was the person
yeah,
that was behind
And I
the
would
whole
love
thing.
to have him participate again, okay? So, we'll- I've gotta make plans
I
with.
think he wants to see that if he does donate things for prizes, that they are given out, that, that it runs a little bit differently than it ran last
Oh,
year. And I
no
think we
question
learned,
about
I
it.
think we learned a lot last year.
Oh, yes.
So I'd be glad to put you guys at the table as long as you really do want him. If you don't want a sponsor, then I will not bother him. It's up to you.
Well, what's your gut feeling?
I don't know, I don't know, Paul.
Well, I guess what we do is we
Harry.
make up, we'll sit down and talk to him and get his gut feeling,
Okay,
That's the way to take care of that.
okay.
Is there a consideration of going back to Mark Lane for it?
That was tough. There's beaver.
Gene always came up with a reason on why you couldn't do it, okay? First it was the beavers, then it was the dam, now it was the silt. So I guess 3 strikes you're out. I would have loved to gone back to
Yeah,
Mark
It's
Easy-
Lane.
deteriorated
easy spot for-
since.
Yeah, but that dam can be repaired pretty easily.
there was problems with beaver back there that were, and then there was problems getting rid of the beaver that were back there.
Oh, yeah.
We were just getting the new beaver condos.
You good, Harry?
Yeah.
All right,
I'm all set.
thank you. Diane, anything? I just had a quick thing, we discussed last meeting in non-public about sending off a letter to a couple of property owners, just to see what they're doing. That's been done, and, yeah, I think that's all I've got to report.
Anything back?
Nope, nothing back yet.
Okay.
Mr. French, anything?
No, I have not.
Mr. Crowe?
No.
Oh, one other thing, are we still gonna meet on the 12th?
Yeah, I was gonna talk about that. So at the last meeting, we had the discussion of potentially meeting on the 12th to get in here and do a workshop to kind of throw the map out on the table, start looking, at the map itself, taking a look at the pieces of property and figuring out like a strategy for, okay, what types of property are we interested in town? Let's start contacting property owners just to say, hey, if you ever sell this piece of property, maybe just come talk to us. Or at least bring us, to the table. Is everybody still up for that? It
I
would
can be here.
maybe next Thursday at same time, same place.
Yeah.
It's been something we've been trying to do for 6 months in non-public, but our schedule's been full.
Next Thursday, we will not be able to televise.
We wouldn't
No.
this wouldn't be televised because we're talking, it's under 91A:D.
Perfect.
Yep.
So
Um,
next Thursday?
Yeah, I'll send out an email on that. And whoever can attend that, that would be good, because we'll roll up our sleeves and kind of go right through the map and start just taking a look at what we have for land, what it
What
looks
about
like out
say-
there, what are the big tracts of land left?
Yeah, because apparently what'd you say, land got sold underneath us, or not underneath us, but
Yep,
without our knowledge.
yeah, we could talk about that. So we had like one thing in non-public that we wanted to talk about briefly. So, other business, so let's get my mind in gear here. Approval of minutes. We went through member input. Approval of meeting minutes. I read the meeting minutes. I don't know if any other folks read the meeting minutes. Everybody good?
Yeah,
I had one comment. I don't know if you addressed that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes from December 1st. December 1st, I believe.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from December 1st.
I'll second it.
Got a motion by Diane, seconded by Harry. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, all those abstain,
I'll
motion,
abstain because I wasn't there.
motion, okay, all abstain, motion carries 5-0-1. Public input? Anybody out in the audience have public input? Opening public input, closing public input. Okay, non-public, so we did have one quick thing to discuss in non-public, so at this point in time, we will make a roll call vote, Diane, to go into non-public.
Yes.
And after we go into after we make this
Peter.
roll call vote, we will be terminating the meeting for this evening, and so we'll be good to go. So roll call vote, I make a motion to go into non-public per RSA 91A:3D, consideration of the acquisition, sale, or lease of real property. I made that motion.
Second.
Motion by Jason, seconded by Diane. Roll call vote, Diane?
Yeah? Aye,
yes.
nay? Harry?
Yes.
Diane is a yay.
Yes,
Jason?
Yes.
Fred?
yes.
Matt? Michael?
Yes.
All right. We are now going into non-public. Thank you very much for tuning in tonight. We're only going to come out of non-public to adjourn the meeting. It
Matt,
is
did you stay?
8:08 PM.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good
You want
evening.
this?
I'm good, I just wanted to look at it.